Welcome to this edition of Tips and Tricks. How to approach a paper in the civil services examination is the theme of this particular edition. I am deliberately not talking too much about the preliminary examination because preliminary examination is something that requires certain basic skills, and your basic knowledge and your basic memory is sufficient to take you through that preliminary examination. Of course, I realize that even preliminary examination has become very tough, but a lot of practice usually takes you through the preliminary examination. In the last edition, I talked about how to choose your optional paper. Right now in the civil services examination, the pattern is that you have 5 common papers, that is 4 general studies and 1 essay paper, and 2 papers from the 1 optional that you choose. In the optional, you have to attempt 5 out of 8 in 2 sections, out of which 1 is compulsory from each section. That is the normal pattern. But when it comes to the general studies paper, the pattern that I have seen over the last few years is that all the questions are compulsory. In the essay paper, of course, you have a large choice, but then the questions are also not that easy to attempt, or the topics rather. In the essay, you have topics, not questions really. So let me first address the general studies part. In the general studies paper, what you have is that you have 20 questions. 10 questions you have for 150 words, and another 10 you have for 250 words. Now, what is 150 words? It is very important to practice 150 words. What is 150 words and what is 250 words? It would have been very difficult in my times. But in today's time, I give you some simple prescription. 150 words is 4 tweets. So whatever you want to write, whatever you want to attempt, please attempt in a thread of 4 tweets. Practice writing threads of 4 tweets. That is your 150 words. Similarly, for 250 words answer, practice writing 6 tweets. If you're not on Twitter, get onto Twitter. And if you really want me to demonstrate the art of writing tweets, that also I can do. You can take up some topic and I can demonstrate to you how to write that particular topic in 150 words, or rather in 4 tweets, a thread of 4 tweets. And for 250, as I said, a thread of 6 tweets. This practice is very important for you to be able to express yourself well. Anybody can write big answers, but that's not going to help you, because the total number of answers that you're going to write amount to something like 4,000 words in 3 hours. Writing 4,000 words in 3 hours is, I can tell you, not easy. I have written 3 books, and 3 books of about 100,000 words each. 1,00,000 शब्दों की 3 किताबें मैं लिख चुका हूँ, और उसके अलावा मैं लगातार कुछ न कुछ, कोई आर्टिकल्स, कुछ भी लिखता रहता हूँ. और मेरा अनुभव मुझे ये बताता है कि 1,000 शब्द के एक आर्टिकल लिखने में मुझे आधा दिन लग जाता है. So someone who is as experienced as me as a writer takes half a day to write 1,000 words, then somebody who's never done it, how is he going to do 4,000 words in 3 hours? It's a very difficult ask. It's a very difficult ask. And unless you have conditioned yourself, unless you know exactly what you're doing, unless you condition yourself in the manner of an examination hall, take mock examinations, simulate those conditions, you're not going to be able to do it. Let me promise you, you will not be able to do it. Let me remind you of an instance from Rahul Dravid. You know Rahul Dravid, that great cricketer, how he used to prepare for test matches. He used to bat in 3 sessions of 2 hours each, simulating the conditions. Simulating the conditions means not like a normal net, but one bowler would bowl 6 balls, then another one would come and bowl 6 balls, and like that he would prepare, he would simulate the conditions of a test match exactly and bat the whole day. He'll do a 2-hour session, take a 40-minute break for lunch. Then he would do another 2-hour session and take a 20-minute break for tea, and then bat another 2 hours. This is how he used to prepare. And this is how, if you really want to succeed, you have to become a Rahul Dravid in the matter of simulating the examination conditions. And the first thing that you have to do, you have to learn to write within those limits of 150 words and the limits of 250 words. That should take at least 50% of your preparation time. Otherwise, whatever knowledge you gather, whatever else you do, it's all going to come a cropper. I've seen this a number of times. I've seen people failing on this. They are not able to complete their answer books. They are not able to write out their answers properly. They have crammed up an answer which is about 500 words and they have to write it in 150 words. They just don't know how to fit it in. So they leave out the important part and use the non-important part. Then we come to the essay paper. The essay paper, I found 2019 Civil Services examination. I looked at the essay paper. I found them very, very interesting. The first question was wisdom finds truth. Now we have to come to another very, very important understanding. How to understand the question, how to examine the question. In the essay paper, you have time. And in that time, you first devote some time to examine the question. Questions can be written in different manner. They have to be approached in different manner. For instance, this question is, wisdom finds truth. If the same question was, can wisdom find truth? The whole approach will change. The whole approach is going to change, because in this it is a statement. In the second, it is a question. Wisdom finds truth. Question mark. That is very similar to can wisdom find truth. So you have to look at the question with a honeycomb. Now, today I am going to throw some light on this kind of a question, because this kind of a question requires very deep intrinsic study, which most people would not have done, because the definition of wisdom, the definition of truth, these are not universal definitions. The definition of truth in the objective sense, the definition of truth in the subjective sense, the definition of truth in the Indian sense, the definition of truth in the Western sense, the definition of truth in the scientific sense. I don't know whether you are aware of so many dimensions of truth. And if you are not aware, if there is no clarity in the question, then you have to balance out your question in a manner that you are able to tackle all of these dimensions. You should know the what is called epistemology. Epistemology is the system of proof. Again, I doubt how many people would know the basic epistemology of the Indian system, the epistemology on which science is based, and the epistemology on which the Abrahamic religions are based. The definition of truth also is very, very different. The definition of wisdom is different. Same question in Hindi says, Vivek hi satya ka marg hai. Now, Vivek is not exactly wisdom, because wisdom is certain. Vivek is discriminatory wisdom. Why I am telling this to you is because the examination of question is very important. In the next episode, I am going to take up some sample questions, both from the general studies as also from the essay, and will try and address them, try and guide you how to exactly write this kind of an answer. And especially with regard to the essay, what exactly are the fields that you have to be very sure of? Because in essay also you have part A, part B. So part A is more philosophical and part B is more on the current affairs. So part B can be addressed more easily if you have done your current affairs studies well, and if you have done the basics. If you have the basics, then you can tackle all of them. But if you have got ideologically attuned to one kind of ideology, then it may become difficult, because that is then going beyond the basics. So the fundamentals and the basics should be clear to you. What the fundamentals and basics should be, we will tackle in another episode. For today, this is sufficient. Thank you. Do subscribe, do share, and do press the bell icon.